don't learn these doses. Okay? If you look at, you've got 44, 110, and 220. Okay? The 220, if you look at it, the highest concentration, you're not going to use in the young kids. That's going to go over to the 12 and olders. And it's usually a more moderate to high dose. Okay? So, yes?
I just want to clarify, a second ago you did say no fluticasone doses. You said no. I just wanted to confirm.
I'm not going to ask you to know these. I'm trying to give you an easier way to know, but these are doses. So 1 or 2 puffs is a dose. I'm not asking you to know strength on this one. Okay, so the dosing you need to know, the strength you don't have to know. So if you look at the 44 mics per puff, it's the lowest, and it will always be the lower dose one. So 1 to 2 puffs BID, it's always BID, is for the 0 to 4 and the 5 to 11. So 0 to 11, you're using, if it's a low dose, you can use 1 to 2 puffs of that 44 microgram. Personally, when you get above 1 to 2 puffs at a time, I move to the higher strength. Okay. So if I have to go to a medium dose and I'm still on a 44 mics, then I'm having to have them do 3 or 4 puffs twice a day. I kick it to the next one. I go to 110, and then it's 1 to 2. Okay. So if you look at the 110, it's at the lower end. 1 BID is usually a medium dose, 2 BID is a high dose. And then if you're doing the 220, it's always for the older kids, medium to high dose. That's how I learn. That's how I remember it. Okay? Those are doses. You don't have to know strength, but you have to know the strength of the inhaler. You don't have to know those strength ranges at the top. Got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Budesonide, you have to know strength and dose. Okay. These are easier. So budesonide is the only nebulized steroid that's on the market. It's also the only one that's approved for kids 0 to 4. Now, it doesn't mean you can't use those other ones, but this one was developed particularly for that. And it's indicated for the younger kids. You're not going to use it, usually it would be rare that you would use it in older kids. It doesn't even carry an indication for it, 0 to 11. Okay. So, it comes as a 0.25, a 0.5, and a 1. Okay, it's pretty easy. So for the young kids, you start them off on that 0.25, it's 1 or 2 nebs a day. And usually this is just once a day, so you would use 1 or 2 of those, or you could use a 0.5. So the dose, the total dose is 0.5. You can use if you're titrating, you can use 0.25 to give you some flexibility. The mediums, you're using the 0.5, 2 nebs a day. And in the high, you're using the 1 milligram, 2 nebs a day. To me, it's easiest to learn these across the top. So the low dose for the young kids is 0.25 to 5. The medium is 0.5 to 1, and the high is greater than 1. For the 5 to 11s, it's 0.5, 1, and 2. That's what I remember. And then I know the doses of the nebs. Okay? So there I would learn that top row. Questions about those? Anything you want to say about inhale? I love budesonide and nebulizer.
So do I. Unfortunately, they don't sound really anymore.
Oh, yeah, really? Okay, the prednisone, next page. Okay, so these are products, these are your oral prednisone and prednisolone, and then you've got, oh, I didn't put it the other one. Okay. So here, for the kids, you've got lots of liquids. And if you look at prednisolone, you've got a lot of variety, so that you're having to use small amounts. In the past, these products have been terrible to the taste. They're awful. And so what a lot of practitioners would do is they give them dexamethasone injections, and then they'd send them out with or without dexamethasone tablets. So they've gotten better tasting. Kids don't tend to throw them up as much, so they're much better tolerated. And you've just got a wide variety to match whatever dose you need. You also have, under prednisolone, you have orally disintegrating tablets, so those are new. So if they won't take the liquid, you can go with those tablets.
They taste good, but they're rarely paid for by insurances, unfortunately.
Let's see, so the burst are there. You've got, for under 12, you've got 2 milligram per kilo for the first dose, or you can go 1 if you're doing mild. 1 to 2 milligrams per kilo per day, divided doses. Usually I just give it as 1 dose in the morning. Why do we just give it in the morning?
Cause insomnia?
Insomnia is a problem. What's that you can get around it, that? What's the big reason?
Oh, yeah.
Not suppressing the axis, so less adrenal suppression. For greater than 12, it's the short course versus 40 to 60 milligrams per day for 3 to 10 days. So with the kids, we're going to shoot for 5 days. So since we're short on time, let's look at this calculation. So you've got the kid is 35 pounds, so here we rounding to 16 kilos. We're going to give him his first dose, we're going to give him 2 milligrams per kilo, that's 32. And the other doses would be 16, so that would be 64 milligrams for the rest of the course. So I rounded it down to 30 and 15 for the rest of the doses. It's easy. We've got a strength that's 15 milligrams per ml, and then we can dispense 90 mLs. Follow that one? Okay, montelukast, just want to point this out. It is, it's a fairly frequent drug used. It is not as effective as the steroids. Don't ever use it in place of a steroid. A lot of people do because it's oral, but it just does not have the power for asthma, when we're talking about asthma. So if you look at, for kids at 6 months to 5 years of age, it's 4 milligrams a day. And usually we give it at night. The dosage form is different. They have little little granules that you can sprinkle on food and give it to them that way, because it goes down to 6 months. And then you've got a chew tab for the 6 to 14-year-olds, and then 15 above you have a 10 milligram tablet. Next page is ranitidine. You want to say anything about the montelukast or the steroid?
A lot of times parents have heard that it causes nightmares in their kids, and studies have shown that they can reduce the very rare incidence of that by giving it dinner time for like the first 3 or 4 days and removing it at bedtime.
The ranitidine is for reflux. Okay, so reflux is a big aggravator of asthma. When you've got asthma that's not responding, think reflux and treat that. So the ranitidine comes in a liquid. The range is 4 to 8 milligrams per kilo per day. I would shoot for about 5, makes the calculations a little bit easier, 5 milligrams per kilo per day with a maximum dose of 300. So you need to know that max dose. So let's work through this kid. So this is a 40-pound female. She's got GERD, and we're going to use the ranitidine. So we converted her to kilos, so she's 18 kilos. With 5 milligrams per kilo per day, that gives her 90 milligrams per day. We're always going to give it BID, the H2 receptor antagonist. We're always going to be twice a day. So that's 45 BID. And your liquid is 15 milligrams per mil. So she needs 3 mils BID, comes out to about 180 mils for 1 month's supply. Any questions about those? Nausea and vomiting. Depends on the indication. What is the nausea or vomiting due to, as to what drug you will choose? I've listed some of the more common ones there. For a viral gastroenteritis the vomiting is interfering with the ability to orally rehydrate the child, then 1 dose of Zofran is reasonable. There's a milligram per kilo. You told me you usually use 4 milligrams of the Zofran? Yes. So max dose, the max dose in adults is what? 16. For kids, it's 8. I'd also say keep in mind oral diphenhydramate. It's Dramamine. It's a good one for motion sickness. Don't use Zofran for everything. Use it when you are not going to use the other drugs or it's a one-time thing. If that drug has become so overused that we run into problems with it. So keep that in mind.
Never give more than 6 doses.
Never more, when you did.
If that kid is still vomiting and needs more than 6 doses, I need to see him again.
Okay. The constipation on page 22. Here, Miralax is preferred. You remember what type of laxative it is? How do you classify it?
Osmotic?
Osmotic. It's an osmotic. So draws water into the gut. Here, I would just look at the age-based dosing. I think the other one is, there's enough leeway here not to be too worried about using a weight-based dosing. So in terms of teaspoons per day, and then you can titrate it up until you're getting a soft enough stool that the child can have a bowel movement without problem. The lactulose is, if you cannot use the Miralax, lactulose is a alternative. Glycerin suppositories can be used in young children, but they are not without problems. So overuse of those can lead to irritation around the anus and the rectal mucosa. So 1 suppository for kids daily for 2 to 5-year-olds, and then an adult suppository for 6 and older. Okay, we're going to finish with tinea capitis, and I'll tell you about the eczema on the last page. So in tinea capitis, the drug of dose is Greasia-Fulvin. And I put terbinafine, but they have discontinued some of the dosage forms of it. So I think Greasia-Fulvin is probably the one to go with. It comes, remember we talked about micro-size and ultra-micro-size. The suspension is the micro-size. It helps in absorption, better tolerated. And then the tablets, the Grispeg, is the ultra-micro-size. So we're going to look at the liquid. Remember, it's better absorbed with fatty foods, so all the neat stuff. You'll be the favorite of the kid. Peanut butter, ice cream. What do you like to use?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. Okay, so for kids that have a peanut allergy, what's your go-to?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Okay, sorry, I should have known. Okay, let me have you do this one. So this kid is 48 pounds. The dose is 20 to 25 milligrams per kilo per day. The suspension is 125 per 5. Calculate the dose. And we give it for 12 weeks. So we would give them a dose a month, and then we give them 2 refills. Did you use the suspension of Fabio? The tablets are kind of big.
And it doesn't taste.
No.
My God, this email.
Can you use once a day? Okay, let's walk through. Okay, so you convert them to kilos, everybody got that? So you're gonna round it up. And I always looked at the range, so it's 440 to 550, is that what everybody got? Okay, that's per day. So you're looking at somewhere between 17.6 and 22 meals per day, so that's when I would pick 20. I'm in the range. So once daily or 10 meals VID, you could do that, but you said you'd like to give it once a day.
Because it's hard for them, just
And-
such a long period.
And then 600 mils, so that's more than a pint. I don't know what the pharmacy would do. Would you all,
Never dispensed that much before. We'd have to special order that too, because a lot of pharmacies won't even carry that much.
yeah, so a pint is 473. So when I saw that, I thought, I bet you they just dispense a pint and change the refill. Okay, questions? Okay, let me tell you about the last two pages. I pulled, this is from, or the last page. So one of the things that the second year said is that the information I gave you on steroids was really important. With kids, they said knowing the vehicles, knowing also the over-the-counter, which I had given to you. I gave you quite a lengthy discussion of atopic dermatitis when we were in Durham. So you might go back and refer to that. I'm telling you that the second year said this is stuff we used. And some of them said, I didn't remember doing the over-the-counter products. And they had told me that before, so I added it in when I talked to you all. So I gave you all a lot more detail than I did then. So that's why that is there, because that was fairly common in their recommendations. Okay, all right. Thank you. Sorry to keep you late.
Hey, before you guys go, I did not give weights. A few of you asked on weights on a pediatric patient encounter. How do you want to do this? Do you guys want to just make up a weight and base? Oh, I love that. Yes, we'll do that. So you just put a weight on there and then do your treatment plan based on the weight that you put on there. Those are due to me Wednesday morning by 8 a.m.
You just want us to make
Make up anything that you didn't get.